Welcome, I'm Elise,
And I'm Jess, and this is Spiritual Alchemy,
the podcast where we explore the intersection of science and spirituality.
and how it shapes our everyday lives. Hey, Elise,
Hi, Jess.
how are we today?
We're having a day.
We're having a day. We were just saying we've been really feeling kind of like this weight of the energy of everyone around us and how the world feels today, and kind of just with things that are happening in political standpoints, in emotional, like kind of in the world, and what's happening with, I would say, like kind of on a more personal scale, like with people in our lives, like what's going on. There's a heavy weight to today.
It's springtime, and I think, I had this thought this morning. I woke up very early this morning to do all my laundry,
Mm-hmm.
and I have a very visceral memory of in the springtime cleaning. My mom would be like, we have to open all the windows, we have to wipe everything down. And when I was doing my laundry this morning quickly, or I was trying to, I felt this like pressure or this urgency, like I wasn't doing enough. You should be vacuuming. You shouldn't just be doing your laundry. You should be dusting. And I was
Yeah.
like, where is this pressure coming from? I will get
Yeah.
to it when I get to it. It's not like I live in filth. I clean when I need to clean.
Yeah.
But there is a more pressurized feeling this spring that I don't think I've ever really tapped into, where it feels like the pressure cooker again, which I always talk about during big transit moments, astrology wise. We won't go into, but
Yeah.
it feels like a pressure cooker again, which I was like, oh, I thought we were going to be out of the pressure cooker. We're back
Yeah.
in.
We're back in it. And it feels like pressure cooker. I think that we've also all kind of gone through so much so far in this year, in 2025. Everybody's had so many heavy experiences, like the, as you call it, the pressure cooker, not to get too deep into astrology, but the transits have been heavy at the start of this year. And people, whether they follow astrology or not, are still feeling it. And they're still feeling these patterns and these lessons kind of come back around and arise. And there's a heavy weight to that. There's a heavy weight to shedding. But I think what you also brought up is that it's spring. And what is the beautiful thing about spring is that it's so symbolic of new life, new chapters, new beginnings. And we get to shed all of that, like guck and, you know, dark gloominess of winter, like all the hibernation, all of the things that we went into our hibernation and our cocoon with, all
We're
those
done.
meditations.
It's done.
We're shedding it. We're starting over. We're starting anew, and we're getting ready for a fabulous summer. I think summer 2025 is going to be
It's going to be lit.
good vibes. It's
Wait, but as you were talking about that, you know what I was picturing? Have you ever grown anything from a seed?
yeah,
Like a tiny little seed.
yeah.
And you know those little
Me, the plant mother. Have I grown anything from a seed? Yes.
You know when, I mean, gosh, to put them in soil and have them grow, but then when they pop through the surface of the soil,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes there's those plants where the seeds will latch on.
Yeah.
I find this to be very true about sunflowers. If you grow sunflowers from seeds,
Mm-hmm.
and they tell you don't pull the seed shell off.
Yeah.
Because sometimes those won't make it. Or
Mm.
the plant learns to grow a little harder or more tough to
Yeah.
kind of shake it off.
Yeah.
I personally feel like I am coming out of the dirt. It's springtime and my shell's still on a little bit. And I got to work a little harder this year to like get the
Get that
shell
shell
off.
off. Yeah. Yeah. I can feel that.
You know?
I think it's interesting too, and it really ties into our topic of the day, which is
Collective consciousness.
collective consciousness. Because I think, I mean, the first thing that we said was we feel everybody else's energy. We feel this weight. And I think it's so telling, like, kind of to talk about collective consciousness when I think there's a lot of people who would agree, like, the energy of today feels heavy. The energy feels, I mean, we can really feel it when it's low vibration, right? Like, it's harder to feel when it's a higher vibration because we're just
La la
like,
la
la la
la.
la. I'm like, I'm on cloud 20, like, it's all good. And then you have those days where you're like, what is this? This feels sticky. Everybody's driving like a maniac, honking at each other, getting angry at each other for no reason. They have nowhere to put that energy, so they put it out on each other, and then the the whole world kind of feels this like spiral.
So, for collective consciousness,
Mhm.
what is your thought in that term? What does that mean to you?
So I had written a different answer when meditating on this. And I think now what I say for collective consciousness is like it's the shared energy between all of us. So it's not just one, it's everyone.
Mm-hmm.
We can kind of all feel each other's energies. And when we're all going through these big experiences together, I mean, it ties us all together.
I I have a very interesting view on this. I'll try and keep it brief about music,
Mm.
but I think there is such magic in groups of people doing an organized activity together,
Yeah.
whether that be in church praying, whether that be everybody at a painting class or meditating. My childhood was up and down, but my most memorable moments were singing in a choir
Mm.
and singing with people, 80, 100 people. I'm, I sang on Carnegie Hall in high school with, I think, like 400, 500 people, kids,
Yeah.
all singing this. Like, that is so beautiful to all be making music and singing the same words at the same time. Doesn't happen enough.
No.
And there's such magic in it because for a split second, we're actually all together
Yeah.
doing the same thing.
Yeah.
It's really quite moving if you think about it.
Yeah. It's like these energetic ties that kind of unconsciously connect us all.
Mm. So
And
so this is collective consciousness,
yeah,
but we are still
unconscious
unconscious
of
sometimes, but
that
collected.
connection. Yeah. We just have a melded mind right now. So it's
Unimind.
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 I love it. So the dictionary defining collective consciousness, Cambridge Dictionary says it's the ideas, beliefs, and feelings that are shared by people in society that help unite it. So there's a Swiss psychiatrist, Carl Jung, and he's also a psychoanalyst. He also recognized a shared awareness that connects us all, and he uh, termed collective unconscious.
Mm.
So those two definitions, it's interesting because I feel like there is a lot of sociology studies that go into the collective unconsciousness or ways to explain the collective consciousness. There's like sociology will break it down and say that it's a community thing and it's human nature to mimic each other and to like kind of be like a tribe, like be connected and be attuned to what's going on. Like that's part of our programming as humans. But I think that spirituality defines it a little differently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I'm just trying to think of other coined phrases, right? We've got mass hysteria,
Mm-hmm.
fear mongering,
Yeah.
right? And how those terms are meant to describe what's happening to a collective or a group of people as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Opportunities knocking.
consciousness is being awake,
Mm-hmm.
unconscious is being asleep. Let's
Mm-hmm.
make it that simple.
Yeah.
So, collective consciousness is if and what you are aware of in your day to day while you're awake. It's your ability to see and witness everything, but not get lost in it,
Mm-hmm.
which I would argue meditation has taught me. I mean, I wish I could say 14 years of therapy taught me that, but
Well, I think
no.
meditation, and again, like, so we have our like traditional definition, then your spirituality definition, your spiritual definition. In a spiritual context, the collective consciousness refers to the idea that all beings are interconnected through a shared universal consciousness, transcending individual experiences and fostering unity. So when you're meditating, of course you're tapping into that because you are, I mean, the idea of meditation is not just to shut off your mind, it's to open your mind. The idea of meditation is to quiet down your ego to get your higher consciousness to speak up. And what is your higher consciousness connected to? The collective.
Unimind.
Unimind. We're all connected. So, yes, it makes more sense that in therapy, you're more connected to your ego. But when you're meditating, you're having this more transcendental experience because now you're quieting down your ego and opening your mind to the collective.
Everything.
Everything.
All the possibilities.
Yeah.
So it truly is a gift that we create our own meaning and our own understanding. I'm going to say that again because it's very simple, but actually very complex if you think about it. It is a gift to create your own reality. I'll say it a different way. And man, I used to get so mad at people when they'd be like, just like fake it till you make it. You know, like put on a happy face. But truly, consciously, not just surface level, but if you can take a minute to just tap in for literally 30 seconds, you do have the ability to change how you are perceiving things, how you're reacting to them, how your energy then will radiate out to other people.
So think of the ripple effect. And this is kind of just a cool idea. It's like thoughts are so powerful, perception is so powerful. What you think is how you will perceive the situation.
Let's also add this collective consciousness can be, of course, that space in between us with no words.
Yeah.
But what if it's also creating the runway for conversations?
Yeah.
And that more can happen internally the more we allow to come through like audibly through our mouths and how what we can talk
And
about to each other.
absolutely. I mean, so spiritually, benefits of, or not benefits, but the idea of collective consciousness is the shared awareness. Collective consciousness says that there is a fundamental connection between all individuals and a larger unified field of awareness. Then we have transcendence of individual experiences. So it suggests that our individual thoughts, emotions, and experiences are not isolated, but contribute to our and are influenced by this broader collective consciousness.
Wow.
That's a big one.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's universal connection. Concept emphasizes the interconnectedness of all things, moving beyond the limitations of individual perception and experience. Spiritual traditions, so Buddhism, Hinduism, incorporate the idea of universal or collective consciousness where individuals are seen as a part of a larger whole. I would also argue that I think, again, I keep tying this back to this religion comment that we've had that, like, a lot of religions believe we come from the higher power. So we must be connected if we're part, and we go back to the higher power when we pass on. So,
do you watch White Lotus?
I did watch the first 2 seasons. I did not watch season 3.
Okay. So
I'm really
they're in Thailand and they're near a monastery near monks.
Love.
I'm going to use this one because I think I've heard this before, but it was really cool to see it on mainstream television where they go to visit a monk
Mm.
and he said, I think he was asked what happens when we die,
Yeah.
which we've talked about.
Yeah.
And his analogy was when we are born, we are like a droplet from the ocean
Mm.
that springs up.
Yep.
And whether that turns into vapor or whether it's just a drop in the air for a second. And then when we die, that droplet comes back to the ocean.
Ooh.
And I was like, that is just such a beautiful metaphor. And then this doesn't ruin anything for anybody, but in the season 3 finale, there's a beautiful imagery moment of, the camera work. They go up to a droplet as it goes back into the ocean. I was like, it's all of us. Look at us. Look at us
Yeah.
there. We're just a bunch of droplets
A bunch of little
from the
droplets.
same ocean.
Yeah.
And someday we'll all go back.
And that's exactly what this idea of this collective consciousness is that like at the end of the day, we're all just water, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And there's also this potential for unity and healing through that. So, concept of collective consciousness can inspire a sense of unity and interconnectedness, potentially fostering empathy, compassion, and a shared responsibility for well being of all. Influence and impact. Some believe that the collective consciousness can influence events, outcomes, and that individual actions and thoughts can have a ripple effect on the larger field. So, going back to that ripple effect.
Sorry, my brain went to COVID.
Yeah.
Like, did you
I think that's
did,
the best
did you
example.
just feel the world get quiet? And I'm almost surprised that we can make it through day to day and we don't talk about what was happening 5 years ago at this time.
Yeah.
The world went quiet.
I loved it.
And when things go quiet, you can either be comfortable or uncomfortable, probably where you are in your life. At that time in my life, I was not comfortable. I had gone through a breakup, talked about it before. And I know this is going to sound a little messed up, but there was a comfort to me knowing that the whole world was quiet with me.
Yeah.
And everyone was kind of forced to be quiet with themselves and unfortunately maybe have to dig through those things that they just kept pushing aside because life can get busy and life can be urgent. And at that time, the only urgency was staying healthy.
So I felt like there was the thing about COVID that I noticed was that I felt a real divide in the collective consciousness. So, like the group energy, right? Because you had people who I think, like us, were like, oh my gosh, it's quiet. I can hear myself think. I can do the work I need to do on myself. Like, for me, it was a time where I was like, I don't think I'd ever not worked like that. Like, I never had that long of a forced break from working
Mm.
because I worked in fitness. Everything was closed. And for I think like a month and a half, I was just waiting to get a call that we could go back to work. But I was also like, no, this is fine. Like, I will enjoy this break. I will take this time. I will build a routine. I will do the work that I need to do on myself. I started seeing a spiritual coach who helped kind of walk me through this shadow work and was like a healer in many sense of the words, but she helped me kind of really slingshot my journey. And I compartmentalize a lot in life. So shoving aside all this, like, ooh, that's icky. I don't want to deal with that. Finally, I was like, hey, I've got all these wounds and I'm bleeding and I need to heal them. So that was the time that I took. And I feel like there were a lot of people who also followed in that suit that were like, you know what? This is my time. This is my moment to really quiet down, sit with myself, get comfortable, and come out of this so strong, no matter what the outcome is, because we
Mm-hmm.
didn't know what was going to happen. On the flip side of that, I think there was also a side of the collective that was very couldn't sit in the silence, couldn't deal with not being able to see other people, couldn't deal with sitting with themselves and having to face all those dark spots that they've been ignoring. I think that
They
like
stayed busy.
they stayed busy.
I don't know how they did it. I was around some of those people, and every day I'd look at them and I go, I don't know how you are so busy during this time
Yeah.
because the whole world is shut down. What's on your schedule?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Listen. And I mean, like, I was busy too, but it's like I was busy working on myself. I was busy trying to make a better version of myself for when I came out of this.
Mm-hmm.
But I felt like other people, there was like so many people who were like, this is worse. It's so quiet. I can't deal with it. And then you had the flip side. And it really divided the consciousness. And what I find now is 5 years later, on the other side of it, that finally those people that had pushed aside, not all of them, but some of the people that had pushed aside the work are now like looking at the people that have done the work, and they're like, "Oh, how do I do that?"
Don't you worry, we got you. Dare I quote Aristotle?
Please do.
The whole is greater than the sum of its parts. And I think that is a beautiful quote to talk about collective consciousness. It's not just about the parts, it's about all of us. I say this in my partnerships, in my romantic relationships, my sibling relationships, friendships. When I win, you win.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
We
When
said this the other episode.
when I win, you win.
We have to go in and every day put in the work, do the practice. Like,
So, what do you think about religions and different religions' idea of collective consciousness?
So
Collective consciousness, I can say it.
I think truly the only two religions that really talk about it
Mm-hmm.
are Buddhism and Hinduism.
Mm-hmm.
And Buddhism, we kind of mentioned earlier, consciousness signifies the collective beliefs, moral attitudes shared within the group, influencing the perspectives and actions of its individuals, emphasizing interconnectedness and the impact of community on a personal behavior. And then Hinduism, they say the collective consciousness represents the shared awareness within society, enhanced by practices like transcendental meditation and the unity among devas, exemplified through their collective efforts to support Indra.
So I have an example of transcendental meditation and something called the Maharishi effect. I think I said
Cool.
that right. So meditation, they're kind of proving works on a collective conscious level. Also, the idea of collective prayer,
Mm.
right? So, an example of transcendental meditation in Washington, D.C. in 1993, 4,000 people got together and they meditated together in the greater DC area.
Great.
I don't think there was any directives. I mean, people were just they were meditating. They were
Yeah.
quieting their minds and letting thoughts flow. Crime dropped that month by 23%.
Interesting. Year over year?
No, I think it was just that year.
Okay.
But that's a quarter.
Yeah.
Almost a quarter. And I wish I could explain it. But I can't.
I think that's kind of where we get into this, like the idea of the collective consciousness is that if we all share these thoughts, if we all share these vibrations, if we're all on some level either aware or unaware, kind of like you're awake or without this conscious awareness,
Mm-hmm.
if we're all connected and we can somehow pick up on each other's energy,
Which we can.
which we can, this example is basically saying that we all have the power. If we all thought positive, we could raise everybody who was maybe, I would say, let's divide this into the conscious and unconscious, kind of like we're talking about with COVID. So we would have our half of the people that couldn't do I'm not saying this in a negative way. They didn't do the work, but they didn't do the work, you know?
It's
So
okay.
there's the conscious and the unconscious, the aware and the unaware. And let's say the aware half is able to come together and work together to stay on a nice high vibrational level with
Mm-hmm.
love, with connectedness, with empowerment, with gratitude. And our energy ripples out to the unaware, to the sleepies, and
Your inner
brings them
peace.
up with us.
Hmm. I mean, I think it's beautiful. Your inner peace radiates outward to the unconscious and the conscious collective.
Yeah. Because don't you just love to be around and think about it as one person, like one droplet, right? When you find someone who's like, oh, their energy is just so calming. I feel at peace when I'm around them. They bring me in. What if you're around 10 people like that?
Oh,
And what if you're around 100 people like that? Think of the power of just like 100 super chill, super mellow people that just bring you peace, that make you feel love. Like, again, unconditional love is, I think, the most powerful emotion or the
mm-hmm.
most powerful vibration.
You're not looking for anything back.
No,
It's just what you can give. And I think that's beautiful. It really is. Because,
but think about how powerful your droplet is, Elise.
oh gosh, well, I will say, because this came to mind, that I always find the more work I do on myself, even if it's down to the keeping my daily routine, which I've been very bad about my daily routine over the past few weeks. I'll admit that. I start to unravel. I don't feel at home with myself.
Mm-hmm.
I can recognize that.
Mm-hmm.
And the more at home with myself I feel, the more I can show up for other people. The more I can radiate my love,
Mm-hmm.
my calmness to other people.
You cannot pour from an empty cup.
Nope.
You have to fill your cup. And if your cup's not full, it's really hard to share
Mm-hmm.
those, yeah,
And I
those
just
positive
I've been a
feelings.
better everything because of this practice
Mm-hmm.
of just tapping into what I need,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that my goal is to always show up for other people with unconditional love.
Yeah.
So, what other scientific evidence do we have that we share a consciousness or a unimind?
Well, I'm so glad you asked because I came across this 100th monkey theory. 1950s Japan. Group of scientists give a bunch of monkeys some sweet potatoes. This is very much paraphrasing what happened. But these monkeys get sweet potatoes and they try to eat them, but because of the sand, they're all gritty and dirty. And they, it's unclear because I've read a few different versions of this retelling, but it's unclear whether the scientists taught the monkey to wash the sweet potato or the monkey figured it out on themselves, like on their own. So they figured out how to, either way, one monkey started washing its food in the ocean. And then it taught its its clan, like it taught like its fellow monkeys how to do it. And then they taught their other monkeys how to do it. And then this they realized like by the time it got to the 100th monkey, what they realized that on other islands nearby, the monkeys started washing their food before they ate it. So there's this theory from this that it takes 100, like 100 people or 100 monkeys to adopt a behavior. So they call this critical mass. And once that's been reached, it's a tipping point. So for thousands of other monkeys to follow suit or thousands of other people to follow suit. And the idea transforms from being the exception to being the norm. So it's kind of this theory that, like, ripple effect. It really is just ripple effect in real time. Yeah.
It's amazing. I'm I'm so amazed. I didn't really bring quite an example. I brought Science.
Bring us science. Tell me.
So, did you know your heart and your brain radiate a magnetic field
Yes.
that they can measure?
Yeah.
And your heart's electromagnetic field is actually stronger than your brain's.
Interesting.
So, your electromagnetic field changes with different emotions like stress, love, fear, focus, and they were able to measure that because of your heartbeat. Your heartbeat will change based off of these emotions you're having, which
Yeah.
is so cool.
Yeah.
So the heart brain coherence improves emotional regulation, cognition, and potentially group connection. So when your brain and your heart are on the same wavelength, right? If you are feeling fear and your brain can, I'm feeling fear, you're connected.
Yeah.
If you're trying to shove that adrenaline down and you're trying to shove that cortisol down and you're like, I'm not going to think about it, you're not connected.
Yeah.
So some research suggests electromagnetic fields between people can synchronize during shared intention or meditation.
Mm.
So even what you and I did this morning, hiking, that's a shared intention. We were both hiking at the same pace. We're relatively the same height. I would probably argue we had about the same heart rate going.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what did I say before we did it? I said, let's go get synchronized.
Yeah.
And then my research was like, you can get synchronized.
Yeah.
You know, it's that, and I'm going to bring it back to music because music has saved my life. There are those moments when I walk away from singing in a choir or even experiencing a concert and everyone just walks out and we're like, yeah.
Yeah.
Because we were feeling the pulsing or the beat of the music, which, you know, something was happening. So now we have our heart inside, our brain inside, and we have that beat on the outside. We are like totally immersed in this rhythm of life, dare I call it. It's magic. Neuroscience is beginning to understand consciousness as a more interconnected phenomena, with studies showing how our brains synchronize with others, so the mirror neuron theory. And a 2014 study at the University of California, Berkeley, showed that when people listen to music together, their brain waves can synchronize and reinforce the idea of collective consciousness.
Raves, I would say meditations, like group meditations. I used to work in a meditation studio. That was really powerful, like going to a sound bath with a lot of people.
Or even to bring it into what's happening to protests.
Protests.
I'm a big protest girly, and I'm telling you, if you're feeling lost and like you don't know what to do, you got to get to a protest because you are going to find people that are like-minded and you're going to feel good doing something or feeling like you're doing something and making your voice heard. I mean, that is a perfect example of collective consciousness.
Yeah.
You know? So, to wrap it all up, our journal prompts for this week. Ask yourself, when have I felt most connected to others in a way that transcends my individual experience? What did it feel like to be part of something larger than yourself? And how does my awareness of my own thoughts and emotions influence those around me? It's a hard one. You're going to have to get real honest and real raw.
Yeah.
What is one belief or action you can take to contribute positively to the collective consciousness, even if it's as simple as sending goodwill to the person that you get your coffee from every morning that you don't really remember their name, or that nice person at the grocery store who always says hello? What can you do to be part of the Unimind? Tap in. It's accessible to everybody.
Yeah.
We're all just little droplets.
Yeah.
We're all little droplets waiting to go back to the ocean. Until next time.
Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today. We're so glad you were here.
For more information on our episodes and to connect with us on social media,
follow us at Spiritual Alchemy Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.
Stay golden!